Good afternoon, everyone. I am Moria Bowman, a BEYA Stars and Stripes STEM ambassador. Welcome to BEYA Stars and Stripes STEM Career Day, where we have an opportunity to learn about STEM professionals. In case you missed it, we were live in Detroit, Michigan last month at the Women of Color STEM Conference. We had an amazing time meeting the Detroit students who were interested in STEM careers. Just visit STEMcityUSA.com and go to the Education and Discovery building. Once you enter the building, click on the globe for the STEM City World Auditorium. You can watch all of our Career Day events. Today, I am joined by a group of student ambassadors who are excited to take you through today's journey. Joy, please share information about you and introduce our Career Day founders.
Hi, I'm Joy from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I am a 12th grade student at Susquehanna Township High School. I enjoy working with technology, and that is why I like being a BEYA Stars and Stripes student ambassador. BEYA Stars and Stripes Career Day is streamed on STEM City USA, which is a 2D metaverse. The BEYA Stars and Stripes Career Day was started by 4 founders. Dr. Tyrone Taborn started BEYA while he was a teen like us over 40 years ago. He is writing a book called Medical USA, soon to be released. Brigadier General Velma Von Richardson is a legend in the corporate IT world and one of the first 10 women generals in the U.S. Army. Lieutenant General Bruce Crawford, U.S. Army retired, and Vice Admiral Watt Davis, U.S. Navy retired, are our chairman and our chairman emeritus, and they serve us as mentors to students and teens like us from all across the country. Over to Lieutenant General Crawford.
Much Joy, and thanks. Always enjoy hearing from our student ambassadors. You all just do such an amazing job representing not only BEYA and what we're doing with Stars and Stripes, but really representing the youth and the next greatest generation of leaders. So to everyone, thank you very much for joining. I always like to start this out with a quote that I think captures the essence of what we're doing here today and what we're doing more broadly. And it's a quote by Will Craig, a famous philosopher, and it goes, and I quote, purpose is the reason that you're on this journey, but passion, it's really passion that's a torch that lights your way. So when you think about our broader purpose here today, our purpose this morning is really about exposing you to information that ignites a passion for a career in STEM. So today we have the honor of hearing from yet another accomplished leader, but more importantly, a leader that is passionate about investing in people, which is a big part of our broader purpose. So finally, today is all about an opportunity for you all to experience the art of the possible from really ordinary people who are literally doing extraordinary things to change the world. So to our audience today, as you listen to the story and you hear about resiliency and you hear about some of the great lessons learned from our speaker, you ought to have one question: why not me? Why couldn't it be me achieving these things? And why years from now can't it be me on this particular stage sharing my thoughts about my journey? So with that said, again, thanks to everyone for being here, and look forward to yet another amazing experience. And so at this point, over to you, Joy. For Hope.
It's actually Hope, but thank you. Thank you, Lieutenant General Crawford, for those amazing quotes and that wise wisdom. Hi, I am Hope, a 12th grade student at Susquehanna Township High School and a BEYA Stars and Stripes and ambassador. Today's guest career professional is Dr. Emanuel J. George III. He is the Associate Dean for Student Engagement and Alumni Affairs and an Associate Professor at the University of North Texas. He is from New Orleans and a graduate of Xavier University of Louisiana College of Pharmacy. Today, we get the pleasure to get to know a lot about Dr. George's background and how he became interested in the field of pharmacy. Over to you, Dr. George.
Good morning, guys. Thank you so much for the welcome. I'm extremely excited to be here. I know you guys have so many other things you could be doing on a Saturday afternoon, and I do not take for granted that you guys are here with me and just giving me this opportunity. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about my background, but also talk somewhat about the career in pharmacy and healthcare overall in general. And I do have a couple of slides to be able to walk us through that, and actually, more importantly, keep myself in line because I can ramble and get all over the place. So, I'll just pull up my presentation very quickly and we'll go ahead and get started. Now, this STEM program that we have is all focused on science. As you guys know, healthcare is within that realm, but I'm going to try to convince us a little bit today as to why should we possibly consider a field in pharmacy. Pharmacy has been very rewarding for me. It's part of my passion of what I've been a part of. And it was linked back to my background of what I was actually really good at when I was in your shoes. I was extremely good in science, biology, chemistry, and most importantly, math. And in 10th grade, I decided to lean into what I was strongest in versus the things that I was going to be, continue to develop. And pharmacy kind of fit all of the boxes that I had in the moment. So, but today for any presentation, I would like to just have us on the same page here. And I would like to have some expectations. So my expectations to you is to commit. So those of you who may be listening online right now, in the comment section, just comment commitment in the chat for me real quick. And there's 3 commitments that I would like you guys to have as you listen to me talk. Number 1, I need you to commit to your future because you never know how the journey that you have as you go forth into your career, your life development, you never know what it's going to take. So I need you to commit to your journey to always be hungry, always be chasing, always be finding your way to something new, exciting, and fresh. So the second thing I need you to commit to is your family. Now, when I say commit to your family, that could be a very broad statement, and I know it means a lot to others. But for me, family are the individuals that are around you, that support you, that care for you, that want the ultimate best for you. So secondly, I need you to commit to your family. And then lastly, what I need you to commit to is your community. Because why do we do all of this? Why are you becoming a better version of yourself? Why are you driving to new things if you're not going to use it to serve the broader audience? Each one teaches one, and that's a philosophy that I live by, and it's always important for me to give back and serve others. Now, I can tell you this. People need you out there. So again, commit to your future, commit to your family, and then lastly, also commit to your community. Now, just because there's some expectations of you, I want to make sure that I have some expectations in our time together as well. And I have 3 promises that I have to you. So number 1, I'm going to try to provide you some information about healthcare, about a career in pharmacy, why you should consider it. So I'm going to promise to give you the information so that you can make the best decision for your life, your career, your family going forward. Number 2, hopefully I'm a promise to shift a little bit of your perspective around what, healthcare can provide you, but then most importantly, pharmacy. And then lastly, don't tell anyone, just between us, I promise to give you a free gift towards the end because who doesn't like free, right? We all like free. And I want to give you something that may help you on the journey of what we're talking about today. Okay, so about me. So my name's Emanuel George. As you heard in my mouthful of an introduction, I'm from the great state of New Orleans. I'm born and raised there. I'm a proud graduate of a historically black college, Xavier University of Louisiana. From that time is where I met my girlfriend, then wife now. We have 2 beautiful, amazing daughters. My wife is actually a pharmacist as well. We met during pharmacy school. And from that time, I've done a lot of roles. I was a clinical pharmacist at Tulane Hospital. I was a pharmacy manager at a major Fortune 50 company. I was a regional supervisor that had a district as wide as 42 locations over about a 300-mile radius. And as of recent, you heard that I am an associate professor at the University of North Texas Health Science Center, College of Pharmacy. And just recently, just this week, guys, it was announced that I was actually going to be serving the HSC, the Health Science Campus Institution, as executive director of inclusive diversity. So that's why I say, guys, you have to commit to your future because whatever you choose right now of thinking about where you're going to go, you do not know. Have the insight as to where it's going to lead you at some point in the future. So again, commit to your future, commit to your family, commit to your community. Now, this is what I'm going to try to talk about today. I'm going to try to give you obviously an overview. I'm going to try to convince you a little bit why you might consider pharmacy. And I'm going to dive into some of my story throughout here as well. I'm going to give you the real nuts and bolts of what does a pharmacist do? Because I think sometimes our perspective as individuals, we don't get the full scope of what a pharmacist can do, the career outlook, and then also some careers in pharmacy as well. I know it's not on here. Trust me, I'm gonna get to your gift, but then we're gonna do some question and answers with the team. So let's go ahead and jump on in, okay? So why pharmacy? Why should we be doing pharmacy? So here we go. Pharmacy effectively is, when we put it in context, when we think of healthcare in general, we know that the healthcare landscape is shifting, is changing. But here's what we know. We know 10,000 people turn 65 every single day. Now, why is that so important? 65 is that age where a lot of health conditions start to pop up. It's at that retirement age. And as we have an older generation, the baby boomers, some of our grandparents and great grandparents, they're going to need us to help them through the health challenges that Father Time and Mother Nature eventually catches up with all of us. Okay. When we think about that 65, we know that patients now, for a multitude of reasons, they delay getting care so that when they finally get to go to the doctor or have something that goes on with them, it's a little more complex, a little more chronic conditions, things that they will live with for multiple years. So we need healthcare providers to help them navigate those waters. We also know that there's an increased focus on healthcare delivery and benefits. And I know there's a lot of discussion going on at the local and national level as how to deliver healthcare more efficiently, more effectively, but how about this, more cost effectively as well. And that's a big discussion that's happening right now. Now, those 10,000 people that turn 65 every single day, we know that they may utilize their healthcare benefits much more. And again, we need people to help them navigate it. Now, when we think at the patient themselves, so that's the structure that are around these patients. But when we look at the patients themselves, we know that they're more health and wellness focused. They have much more knowledge. They have much more impetus on how, in fact, should they take charge of their healthcare. And as healthcare providers, we want them to do that. Now, we also know that they're looking for convenience. They want to have their healthcare needs met when they want, how they want it, and at the cost they want it. So they're looking for convenience. And then lastly, we know they're shopping for value. We know there's been a lot of things, whether you look at the economy, the overall culture, people are looking for value, almost like a dollar menu type of thing of how to improve their healthcare. And again, I think pharmacists can definitely help with that. Now, again, I said I was going to try to convince you why pharmacy. Well, pharmacists themselves, they are the drug information experts. When we think of healthcare, every position, whether it's a doctor, a nurse, a pharmacist, an anesthesiologist, they all play particular roles. And as the role as the pharmacist, we are the ones who know the most about the medications. And that's what we're here for. We also well positioned. When you drive to your local, whether you're just going to the grocery store or whether you're going down to your fast food establishment, I'm pretty sure many of you have probably passed one or two or multiple pharmacies. So we are well positioned to be able to help people in their communities where they live to best serve them. We are a very integral portion of that healthcare team. Like I said, being the drug information experts, we are the ones who own that space. Your doctor, your nurse, your respiratory therapist, they know a lot, but they know about their lane. The medications are ours. And then lastly, we are educated and trained to offer a variety of services from, obviously dispensing the medicines is one thing, but we provide immunizations. We are able to do point of care testing to check very, simple things in the community, whether or not you have flu, strep. And lastly, we also do things such as diabetes education, again, because we're best positioned for it. Now, some of the job description, I know I probably alluded to it a lot just now, but we are there to educate you, educate patients. So, if you've met a pharmacist, you've met a teacher, believe it or not. We're here to educate patients about their medications, but then all OTC medicines as well. We educate and offer advice to those other healthcare professionals when they're trying to decide what's best for you, your life, your family members. When they have health challenges, they oftentimes come to us to be able to find the most appropriate therapy that causes the least amount of harm. We provide information about the drugs and the immunization information and side effects that are associated with them. We provide expertise about how to, how to compose an appropriate healthcare plan, how to offer information about the drugs, the chemical components of it. We provide vaccinations, like I mentioned earlier, but lastly, lifelong learner. You guys may or may not know, when you pursue a career in pharmacy, you are actually going to achieve a doctorate of pharmacy degree, where it's a terminal degree, but just because the degree is terminal doesn't mean your learning isn't, because you can continue to evolve. And let's get to some of the practice settings that you may find yourself once you finish a pharmacy degree. Now, when I think of career opportunities, definitely it's always about what does my particular degree afford me to do, but I also think about degree options and what is the potential that all of my degree may lend me. Where can I go with it? Yes, I understand this degree takes me forward, but sometimes I want to veer left. Sometimes I may want to veer right. And guess what? Sometimes I want to circle back around. And I want to have that ability. And I can guarantee you a degree, doctorate in pharmacy affords you that opportunity. So let's look at some of the areas where, in fact, you can practice. Now, a good chunk of my career that I already talked about were in these first two practice settings. Well, when I say community practice, I'm talking about that corner drugstore, that mom and pop, that independent pharmacy where you can walk in and interact with the pharmacist directly. We are all familiar with community pharmacy, but some things we may not be familiar with, that veterinary pharmacy as well, where you're able to, your patient population, yes, you might want to talk to people sometimes, but I know some people you may not want to talk to, and you may be more akin to wanting to treat animals. So there is a field such as veterinary pharmacy. And again, that's something that you can use with your degree as well. You could also do compounding. So if you are an individual who is more tactile, would like to do more things with your hands, and you want to concoct and make things, compounding pharmacy is a very amazing opportunity for you as well. When we think of the hospital pharmacy, I know when you go to the hospital, or I've had family members who go to hospital, you don't think about the pharmacist because usually you don't see us sometimes, right? We are usually down towards the basement or by the dispensing area, but that's how those bags gets to your floor. That's how the medicines that your loved ones are in fact ingesting are there. The pharmacist is there making sure that everything is appropriate and effective. And then also in hospital settings, there are some practice where the pharmacist may actually come to bedside to counsel you about your medicines and your therapy overall. Now, on here, you see it also says pharmaceutical industry. Now, if you are a person who's interested much more in like the development of medications, where you're the one who may want to work on curing a particular ailment, pharmaceutical industry could be a very amazing and rewarding practice setting for you as well, where you are actually diving into the research and development of new drug therapies, of bringing new products to market, and then also helping to ensure that they are utilized the most effective in a safe way. Another industry practice setting is what they call a medical science liaison, where these are the individuals. Remember earlier, I said pharmacists are teachers. A medical science liaison's job is to go educate the healthcare community about the new developments or the new research or the new therapies that are available for some or all particular medications. Now, there's also another practice setting, which is nuclear pharmacy. Now, nuclear pharmacy is exactly what it sounds like. You're dealing with radioactive isotopes. And if any of you, going back to the hospital setting, has ever had to do a diagnostic test where they may use radioactive iodine to identify things, or doing a bone marrow scan, or another type of identifying what may be going on in your body, sometimes they use radioactive material so that when the patient ingests it or it gets injected, it can be identified on a particular scan. And that's what these pharmacists do as well. Now, just a few more. And again, I'm just presenting you 8. There's probably 20 more things that you can do with that PharmD degree, but I just want to present you with 8. So a consultant pharmacist is individuals who work with long-term care facilities or nursing homes. There's availability within the federal and the governmental agencies, such as the FDA or the CDC, the public health services. There's also managed care pharmacy, where this is where they're actually working with and partnering with the insurance companies to help ensure formularies are set for particular patient groups. And then lastly, education specifically. Now, every pharmacist may be a teacher, but like myself, there's some of us that choose to come back and give back to the profession to teach the next generation of pharmacists, which could be specifically in academia, in the classroom, at the places of higher education, but then also sometimes it's precepting students at our sites where we work as well. Now, you may be wondering, well, what's the job outlook? Things are tough right now. I've been on the interwebs and I've been seeing a lot of, toughness in the job market. Well, pharmacist has always been one that it's been pretty strong and pretty consistent. Most career paths in healthcare are always pretty strong. Just the way our life is, we will have health challenges, but the projected job growth for a pharmacist from 20 to 21 is expected to continue to grow. So it's always on the incline. There's an increased demand for pharmacists because there's a little bit of a transition period away from community pharmacy to a lot of hospital pharmacists that are doing more patient care services in the hospital setting, medication therapy management, immunization providers, and then also specific clinical pharmacist roles. There's that large baby boomer generation that I talked about. 10,000 people every single day turn 65, and they have a need for us to help and support them as they transition to another part of their lives. And then the last two is higher rates of chronic disease, such as diabetes, are continuing to increase and across all groups, not just that elderly population, but baby boomers, Gen Xers, millennials. So diabetes is one chronic disease that's continuing to grow. And then lastly, what you may be thinking, what's in it for me? So here's another reason. The healthcare professions are usually well paid, and pharmacists are no different. Highly compensated, highly competitive salary is something that you can expect choosing a career in pharmacy. Now, when we think about new opportunities, this is where, the new age meets what's already there. So when you think of artificial intelligence, convenience, the advancements in technology, your career path with that PharmD degree is truly well up for exploration, whether you are focused on health outcomes research. And what I will just also make sure I say is that you might have an interest in healthcare, you might have an interest in pharmacy, but if you guys are like me, you're probably multifaceted. You probably have a lot of, just interests that you have that you're associated with. So just because I'm very in tune to health and science, I'm also very interested in economics. I'm also very interested in people development. And it's how do you bring all of these to get things together? So I'm just going to highlight a couple of things on this slide that you see here. So on the bottom, you may see, I guess I can say Amazon. You see the drone technology that's there. That is something that is specifically happening on so many different areas where we're trying to figure out how do we get deliveries to people in the most efficient, the quickest way. So again, think of being the one to crack the code on the technology that affords a safe, effective way to deliver patients their medicines at their homes. In the top on the left-hand side, you see a person holding their finger out what looks like a grain of rice. That is a diagnostic tool that is ingestible, that affords us, rather than us having to do an exploratory type of cutting to determine what's going on your family member's body, we can have that, have them ingest that, and it works their way through their system. So we can see in a highly non-invasive way of maybe what's going on inside. Last thing that I'm going to, in fact, talk about is, speaking of convenience, remember we talked about that patient who wants convenience. You may see where you have the individual who looks like they're at a cooler and they're getting some Gatorade or their favorite sports drink. That is not a cooler. That is actually what you see there is it's a wall that actually they can select their groceries. And what you're looking at, this is a subway station where they're actually purchasing exactly what they want to have delivered to them, so that by the time they make it home from work or from their travels, that stuff can be delivered to their house instantaneously. So these are things that are going to affect multitudes of things within our society. But most importantly, I promise you, it will eventually permeate its way. This convenience, this efficiency, this technology will get its way to pharmacy and healthcare as well. Now, I got like 2 minutes remaining, or a few minutes remaining, and I know we're going to have amazing questions, and hopefully you have some amazing questions, because if you have great questions, then I did my job appropriately. But I want to get to this free gift. Now, you heard lifelong learner from me, hopefully, staying abreast and choosing the career that's to your strengths and using the journey, because this is one thing I wanted you guys to know about journeys. Journeys often changes. Think of your most favorite movie that's on your heart, whether it's, your favorite hero or heroine. They're always chasing something. They're going, and then there's an antagonist, and the story plot thickens, and then it gets real scary, and then it looks darkest before the dawn, and then all of a sudden, they learn something, and then what happens? They come out on the other side. I can promise you that's how your life journey is going to be. So what I have for you here is, if you just scan this QR code, it's myplan.com. They have a wealth of career assessment plans, but this QR code will bring you to a values assessment. Now, I'm going to warn you, it's going to take about 10 minutes or so for you to fill it all out. But what it does is it takes into the account the things that are important to you, your values, the things that are inside of you, what's most important. Now, I know right now it's easy to think about, how am I going to be happy? How am I going to fulfill my purpose? Am I going to get compensated appropriately? Can I drive the nice cars? Can I get the big house? I understand all of that. But I will tell you this, is that I've been doing this long enough to know, worked with enough pharmacists, healthcare professionals, and students, is that sometimes the money is not enough. Now, the money is a person who is from the poor side, coming up. It can make a lot of things feel good, but I can tell you the money will never be enough. So I always challenge everyone to start their journey, their career, their thoughts about what are they going to choose for the next stage of their life, whether you are a high schooler, whether you are that 2 to 4 year institution, or you're a pharmacist and you're looking for a pivot. You always start with your values. So this QR code will take you to assessment. It's about 20 questions. It's going to take you about 10 minutes, but give yourself the time to determine what, in fact, are the values that are inside of you. So you're choosing the right journey that helps give you the fulfillment on the inside that the external world can never provide you. All right. So again, just somewhere, just scan that QR code and it'll take you directly there. Now, with that being said, though, I'm excited for you guys to be here with you guys, and I look forward to any questions that you guys may have for us as we continue our conversation.
Dr. George, for sharing your career with us today. Thank you for inspiring us with your journey. We would like to take the next 15 minutes to ask questions and allow you to share more details with us. Our student ambassadors will take turns interrogating you, so get ready. Hope.
I would like to start out by interrogating you first. When did you first know you wanted to be in your career?
Yes, definitely. What I'll tell you is this: is that when I was in high school, I was 10th grade. Um, I always wanted to be in the healthcare professions. And if I can go right before 10th grade, I remember always wanting to be a marine biologist, to be honest with you. But then somewhere around like 7th or 8th grade, I remember some older person telling me how much marine biologists made. And I was like, oh, that's not going to do it. So then I went on this journey of trying to figure out, okay, well, if I'm going to be in the Galapagos Islands in the middle of water and I only make that amount of money, that doesn't seem worth it. So that I started honing a little bit more on being a doctor, the medical profession. But what really sparked it, I took a career assessment in 10th grade. And when I did it, I always recognized I was extremely good at chemistry. I was extremely good at biology, really good at math. And that career assessment put that I should be in healthcare, but one of the bigger emphasis of subcategories was pharmacist. And I was like, okay, well, that sounds pretty cool. And I talked a little bit more to my 10th grade chemistry teacher, who encouraged me a little bit more. And I effectively never looked back from that point. I decided that 10th, 11th grade to be a pharmacist. And again, never looked back since.
Nice.
That's amazing. That's really cool. I also have some questions for you. Do you mentor other people, especially like it can be like any type of mentoring or just like leading them in the pharmaceutical
Yeah.
field?
Definitely. So, I my current role, I interact with a lot of students. The students that I get to interact with are from the health professions, primarily pharmacy, because that's the program that I'm in. But I've had the pleasure of interacting with doctors of osteopathic medicine students, physician assistant students, and physical therapy students as well. In addition to those, I actually coach and mentor a multitude of professionals. So, like you heard me say, we all have different journeys that we find ourselves on. And just because you choose something when you're 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, that doesn't mean you got to be there for the rest of your life. I work with a lot of individuals who I had the pleasure of knowing, whether it was from my career in pharmacy or students or people that connect with me on the interwebs, and I help them through the journey of the career pivot. So whether they are moving from being a healthcare provider to now opening their own small business, or small businesses trying to transition to another business, or trying to jump career fields or practice settings, I get the pleasure. And that's the thing that's most rewarding with me, getting to work with multitudes of individuals that allow me into their world. So yes, I do.
I think that's like not talked about enough as well. Like knowing that you can change your career. You don't have to just stay in one thing for the rest of your life because you chose that at 18. Like, so I think it's a really good thing that you're like letting them know that like you can branch out, like see what you're made of, see what other talents you have.
Agreed.
My question for you is, if you could talk to your 12-year-old self, what would you tell him?
Don't become a marine biologist. No, that's not what I would say. So if I could talk to my 12-year-old self, what I would say is definitely start to learn how to believe in yourself, because what happens is that the world can be tough. And this is not just me being trying to be overly motivational, but the reality of it is that what you think about yourself is true. And I would have told that young little guy who didn't know, was trying to find his way in the world, that who you are and who you surround yourself are just very important. And it took me a long time to believe in me. And again, sometimes we get caught up in the imposter syndrome or feeling as though we're not enough or not able to do the things. But guess what? You can crush your dreams, but guess what? You got to be the first one to believe in it.
That is so true. That is honestly like the best thing I've heard probably this month, because it's not talked about enough of like how you view yourself is going to lay out the rest of your life. Like if you don't believe in yourself, then life isn't going to let you go anywhere. But if you believe in yourself, then life can take you as far as you want it to go.
Well, because what happens is when you don't believe in
So this
yourself,
process, I've
it's
heard.
true. Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah. Throughout this process, I've heard you mention the word journey and the word process. I mean, not this interview, or I've heard you mention the word journey and process. And I think a
Mhm.
part of life is having to go through journeys and processes. And but how did you learn to love the process? Because when you mention it, I don't see any types of negative energy when it comes to the word process. I actually feel like a motivational energy. So how did you flip that mindset? How did you make that mindset? Yeah.
Yeah, processes are tough, guys. So I don't want to gloss over that. Processes are tough. So what happens is that, so how did I flip it? Is because I started to focus more on the process than the outcome. I can't
Mm.
control the outcome. I can't control whether or not I lose 15 pounds or I get an A on that test. I can't control that. The only thing I can control is the amount of energy, effort, time that I put into the process itself. The outcome is the outcome. I'm not going to know if I'm going to go on that field and score 2 touchdowns. I don't know if I'm going to get in the game and be able to, be Stephen Curry. I don't know that. But you know what I can do? I can show up to practice every day. I can make sure that I'm eating right. I can make sure that I have routines and make sure I'm getting enough rest, recuperation, making sure I have enough people around me who are supportive and engaging for my mental health, my mental well-being. I'm taking care of myself mentally, physically, spiritually. That's all I can control. And the outcome is just going to be what it becomes as long as I put in the effort. Because what I know is you can't be upset about the results for the work you didn't put in.
Right. Love that. That was I never the heard it better. process turns you into who you are today because of the
Agreed.
process, because of the journey.
Yes.
That's
Um,
crazy. That's really deep because I feel like especially when thinking about schools and stuff and like especially what field you want to go into, the pressure can be hard. So you always think about what's the outcome? What's it going to be if I go in here? How much money will I make? How will I look in college? But you don't really understand the process of what
Mhm.
makes you in your career who it is, and that's how your outcome will like become.
Agreed.
That's really good advice.
Yes.
yeah, super good advice. Wow.
And what
Mimi, do
would
you have a question?
I do actually. What would what advice would you give someone who would like to go into that specific career or
Yeah.
into the pharmacy field?
Yeah. So what I'll say is this is that I think the great thing about the health professions, right? The great thing about the health professions, probably the first 2 years of college education are in fact the same. So whether you want to pursue medicine, whether you want to pursue dentistry, whether you want to pursue physical therapy, pharmacist, whatever, anything that has like a healthcare background behind it, the first 2 years of like your first 2 years of college are effectively the same. Very heavy biology, very heavy chemistries, things of that nature. So the good news is they're the same. So what I would say is if you're not completely sure, if I didn't do a good job today, that's fine. It's okay. We got time. I got time to convince you that pharmacist is where it needs to be. But it's always starting with those general prerequisites first that are there. For those of you who are just trying to figure out, like, well, I'm not sure if I have, the what it takes, or if I'm not sure, I got to build up my CV, my resume, get my grades together. Guess what? You can probably do some jobs in the healthcare profession to determine if it's even what you want to do. Now, I want to make sure that you and your audience, everyone hears, is that make sure you're leaning onto what's strength for you. Because I know there's some people who, 2, 3 years, I remember back at Xavier, there were some people in their second pre-pharmacy year, or they're getting their prerequisites. They're like, man, I'm not into blood and biology and bodily fluids. Well, okay, this is where it's time to shift and change. You. And I think that's definitely where you also need to start as well. So if you are interested in a healthcare professional, just make sure you enroll. The pre-health professions, the prerequisites are effectively the same. So you got 2 or 3 years to decide where do you want to branch out for that. But lastly, we'll say, make sure you know you. If you know you don't like cutting on things and doing that dissection in lab, and you don't like animals, and because I can tell you, when you cut a lot of things in college biology, in anatomy and physiology, whether it's sheeps or hearts or brains or frogs. Yeah, so if you know that's not you, let's find something else. And engineering is an option as well, right? So definitely.
It's good to see that there's a lot of options regardless of where you want to go. I like the fact that especially with the pharmaceutical field that you're talking about and stuff, there might be a specific thing that you like, but if you're like, you don't like blood, especially me, or if you don't like, dealing with these types of patients, you can work in a way where it's still something you want to pursue, but
Yes,
also where you're comfortable at. So you don't have to like go past your personal boundaries.
agreed. No, that is amazing. Having personal boundaries is
So,
definitely a thing. Go
mhm.
ahead.
So my question is, how important is ethics on your job?
Ethics, woo, that's not a tough one. It's a tough one to deal with, right? So ethics, what I will say is this: at the school, I get the privilege of teaching pharmacy law and ethics. So ethics is definitely something that is always permeating my brain, because it's not about doing stuff, it's doing stuff the right way. It's about doing stuff the right way with the right intent. And ethics is where that really crosses. When you think about healthcare just in general, there are a lot of ethical things that would be that you're presented with on a daily basis. Now, that's just when you're talking about with patient care, but across the practice settings that I've done, sometimes business ethics have an interplay as well. So having the utmost integrity and ethical behavior is something that I deal with every day, whether it's interacting with students, interacting with my patients, or even my administrators, because some things out there gets to be kind of gray. And you might be wanting to do something a particular way, but it may be definitely the wrong way to do it that is negative to a lot of people. So again, doing things, ethics, doing things for the right reasons and the right way is something that I encounter every single day. That would be a whole nother
Yeah,
call.
since you
We'd have to have a whole nother call for that.
um since you worked in pharmacy, it reminded me of from the have ethics to get things done fast, and they weren't right.
Mhm.
And because she wanted to get things
Yes.
done fast, everyone got sick. So it's like ethics is so important, especially in the healthcare field. And I'm glad we have people like you who really just look up to ethics and like try to play it in their lives every single day.
Yes. Thank you.
So a lot of the times, being successful is like a journey to being successful, and we might run into a few bumps along the way. Could you tell us
Mhm.
a time where you failed at something and what you learned about being resilient and getting up after being knocked down?
Yeah. So what I'll tell you guys is this: is that how we approach education um, is very high stakes. Let me acknowledge that. But I think what has happened is we've also removed the idea that failure can be the one of the best educational tools that ever occurs. We are in a place where it's very hard to, fail a test, fail a quiz, fail, a clinical examination, because it's such high stakes. Because that could be the difference between your GPA getting you a scholarship or getting into college or a residency program. But what I will say is that failure can sometimes be the biggest teacher for you, because it teaches you exactly what you're not supposed to do, right? We've bred the idea of being perfect, where there's beauty in failure. And what I'll say, what I've learned from some of it, I was talking to some students, I believe it or not, a couple of weeks ago, and I told them, so I have two beautiful girls. I have an 8-year-old and a 3-year-old. And as a parent, what I've noticed is that when they are learning to walk, right? You guys may have young people in your life, whether it's siblings or cousins, they're learning to walk, right? And you're sitting there trying to make sure that they don't fall, and you got everything, baby proofed, and you got pillows everywhere, and you're making everything. But guess what? What I learned watching my daughters, the amazing thing about them falling is it teaches them how to get back up. Without them
Mm-hmm.
ever falling and stumbling, they would never know that, okay, we'll put my hands here so that I can get back up and readjust myself. And it's amazing. Kids intuitively know that falling does not mean the end. But somehow, as we get older, we equate failure with the end. And guess what? Failure is literally just the beginning. So I think about, there's been multitude of times, but I'll tell you one, just very simple. When that first week of me being a regional supervisor for that Fortune 50 company, there was this big meeting that I had to go to, new area, new job, never been in the Dallas Fort Worth area. And I got directions where the meeting was supposed to be. The person told me, go this way, take 35 this way, and go south. I was 45 minutes late. And I'm thinking to myself, where am I supposed to be? I was almost to the Waco area. And I'm like, hey, I think I'm lost. And they're like, oh, no, you weren't supposed to take 35 west. You were supposed to take 35 east. So long story short, get there 45 minutes late. have to be escorted to where the meeting was. The door makes the largest creaking sound ever. So I couldn't just sneak in the back. And all eyes are looking at me. And at this meeting, there was the regional vice president, somebody from the main office in Deerfield, Illinois. My boss was there. And guess what? I never was after that meeting? Late to
Wait,
anything. Never late to anything. So again, failure is an amazing tool that for whatever reason we've worked out of the toolbox of education that I think we should figure out ways to bring it back. So
I like how you didn't dwell on you being late, but just made the decision to never be late again. You didn't stay stuck in a mistake, but you just made the decision to fix it going forward. I think a lot of us,
mhm,
when we switch our mindset, if we switch our mindset to that, we can get better results and faster results, in my opinion.
yes,
Yeah, because some people let failures define who they are, and
yes,
it's not something that defines you. It's something that turns you into who you are becoming, because
yes,
failure allows you to look back, see what you did, like see how you messed up, but it also allows you to grow, probably even further from when you started. So I
agreed.
think it's a literal journey of becoming who you are. It's
Yeah,
important to fail so you can find yourself in
agreed.
failing.
And if I can make one more comment
What
about the
is
topic
life?
of failure, if I can make one more comment about the topic of failure, I just make sure and I try to have everyone to recognize the goal. So, like you just mentioned, you may have failed, doesn't mean you're a failure, but the goal is to fail
Yeah,
forward. Because when you fail or
right.
fall, the goal is to just how does it push me forward, not allow me to go back. So it's always just fail
Exactly.
forward.
Exactly. That's such a great example. I'm always gonna use that. That reminds me of the like the baby thing you were talking about, because when babies fall, if you pay attention, they usually fall forward. Actually, they don't really fall backwards. Now they fall forward, or they just like trip forward or whatever. So and then
Yeah.
they end up on their forelegs again, and they have to get back up again. I think that's really cool how you just do that analogy. I really love that. Our instinct was to do it when we were kids, so we should make it a conscious decision when we're older.
Hmm.
So I love that.
Yes.
What is life like on campus at the University of North Texas? Would you recommend going to that college?
Definitely, yes. So, the up here in North Texas, we effectively have four campuses. Okay, so we have the main
Oh,
campus, which is in Denton, Texas. They have a student population of about somewhere between 30,000 students across all their programs. We have a second main campus in the on the Dallas side that services about 10,000 students. Where I'm at the health science campus, which is the health professions campus. So we don't have undergrad. So your undergrad is traditionally your first 4 years. The ones who come to my campus, they're pursuing, again, health professions, biomedical sciences. So they usually already have at least their bachelor's degree coming to my campus. And we also have a Frisco campus that is focused on business and management studies there as well. So I definitely would say that, coming to that campus, it gives you, coming to UNT gives you the college experience. You get to have a sprawling big campus with things to do, but then also pathways if you want to stay within that system to go on your next journey. So you get that degree in biology, get your bachelor's in biology. You can then choose to come to the health science campus, or if you found on their journey you would prefer to do finance and business, we have a campus for that as well. So definitely, it's a pretty big campus that has a major football and basketball team up there, not too far from fun. So again, I know sometimes we always think about, okay, what can I do on the weekends? So they got a lot going on there, but then also you're very close proximity to major cities such as Fort Worth and Dallas within a driving distance to get there and do some other things on the weekend as well. So
That's really cool.
that's awesome. It sounds amazing.
mhm.
I have a quick question for you, super fast. Since saying that you've been working on campus and stuff, it seems like you've been on there for a long time. And so, how would you say that you would make yourself irreplaceable in that field or in your career, so that
Mhm.
people know that Dr. George, he's good in this. You can't like replace him because he really
Yeah.
knows how to do his job. How do you make sure that you know you're known as that person?
No, definitely agree. So, what I'll answer that question this way. Number one, it has to start with a level of humility to recognize that if I don't do or feel the purpose or continue to invest in my life journey as an individual to grow, develop, continue to learn, that I will be replaceable. right? So that's kind of the first step. It's a level of humility to know that if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, I can. So all I can do, connecting our conversation back to process, right? I can't control whether or not they replace me or not. But what I can do is I can make it a little difficult, right? By ensuring that I'm continuing to learn, I'm continuing to grow, but most importantly, investing in those around me such that I'm giving out more than I'm receiving. And I know that may feel a little philosophical, but it's more so about how am I ensuring that I'm providing value to the people that I serve, students, faculty, staff members, the institution, where again, at the end of the day, they can probably replace me, but I'm going to make it a little more difficult, right? I'm going to make it a little more difficult through my lifelong learning, through my continual journey of my own growth, of helping and serving others.
Wow, that's so sweet. That's really nice because
Definitely.
then that seems that, it's not just, I feel like, especially in my school or with teachers, it's not just about them loving their career. They don't actually focus on how much they want to give out to their students. It's more of just like buy the book, buy the book, buy the book. But with you, it's more of, it is by the book, but why don't I also put my personal outtake on it? So it's more of you receive by the book, but you also receive more from me. And I feel like it adds just a lot of like genuine to it, and it shows how much you really care, not just about like your career but also about your students as well.
My career is nothing without all of you. So I have to make sure I keep that forefront. The people I serve is why I'm privileged to do what I do. So again, I can never take my eyes off of that.
Wow. That's a really amazing mindset.
Mhm.
I have a next question for you.
Sure.
How do you see the metaverse in this field? How can we incorporate the metaverse in the field you work in?
Let's go. Right. I think we learned a lot over the last several years. Right. There was a lot of change and disruption to how we normally did stuff. Right. Whether it was how we educated, how we had patients come to the pharmacies or their doctors' offices, and I think it's time that we evolve. Right. And I think the metaverse, artificial intelligence, these technologies afford us being able to connect like we are today. I don't know where you guys are located, but I'm, being able to connect with you and your audience while sitting in my office in a very cold day in the Dallas Fort Worth area, where I get the privilege of being able to come share with you. If we would rewind this maybe 4 or 5 years ago, this would have been a conference or a symposium that we all would have had to come to and travel, and there would have been flights or trains or cars and delays. And I think the way we can allow information to move is going to be significantly faster. Now, when I think about healthcare, guess what we've learned over the last 3 years? Patients are able to see their primary care physicians or their pharmacists virtually, just like this. 90% of the things and why you have to go to the doctor, I don't need the person there to poke and prod and whatever. Sometimes it's just, hey, you're exhibiting symptoms of the flu. Here's what you do, or here's a cough, cold, whatever that you have going on, or it's just a checkup. How's your blood pressure doing? And I can have a virtual visit to talk with patients about their diabetes management. So I think the metaverse is going to be a significantly better way for us to continue to reach patients and people that we may not have had access to just engage with them, encourage them, teach them, help them in ways that we didn't have before.
That is so true because my mom works in healthcare actually, and she helped create the portal, the Epic portal, so that patients can see their doctors and talk to them through like being online. And it works out. It worked out really well. Like the patients love it. It's faster. So I have the last question. Oh, I wanted to add something. I feel like the metaverse is gonna do a lot based off what you said, like the college career pathway. So like we could like use the metaverse, and I think we could like explore the pharmacy career and other careers too. Like maybe like we could do like a day in the life of, and just like virtually be, how an intern goes in, you can like virtually like intern under you guys, or just be in the virtual world of what you go through today. That'd be really fun. But the metaverse is expanding. I just can't wait to see how we use it in the future, especially in the stimulated world.
Agreed.
Um, so my last question for you today is actually from me. Like, what is your why? Why do you do what you do? How did you find your why, and what motivates you?
So that is a very interesting question because I've been doing some work around that topic, and I know that is a big pressure point that we have. Find your why, find your purpose, find the reason why you would do this for free. But if I can challenge, so how did I find my why? Because I was committed to finding out who I am. Your why
Mhm.
comes through the journey. But if you're not into your strengths, your talents, the abilities that you've been gifted, the environment that cultivates you to become the person that you need to be, your why is irrelevant if you don't know who you are. We ask people to
Mm.
start at such an early age. What's your why? What's your purpose? And we haven't quite developed who we are. Because if we're honest with ourselves, when you think about just brain development, your prefrontal cortex does not finish developing until like your early 20s. Boys, probably a little later, right? So somewhere a little later. And we're
Yes.
asking people at 16, 17, 18, 19 to decide what's your purpose, what's your why, when we're not allowing them the journey to figure out just ultimately who they are. Because every one of you on this call, everyone's listening, you have strengths, you have talents, you have abilities, you have interests that you have to nurture a little bit to find your why. Because I worked with a lot of people that committed to a purpose and it wasn't fulfilling to who they are. And then they were burnt out, frustrated, not wanting to make the change, didn't know how to overcome. It led to depression, health conditions, broken relationships with their family and loved ones. So I really believe the way I flipped it, how did I find my why? I was truly committed, and I have been truly committed to who I am, and the why continues to unfold.
And finding out who you were, like, what was that process for that? Like, how do you find yourself?
Um, pay attention, pay attention to the things you like and the things you dislike. So as you guys are, when you
Mhm.
do that values assessment or you're thinking about your career path and you've had a lot of people who are pouring into you, they're doing it for the best of reasons. I don't want you to live the life that I have. I want you to have a better future than I had. When they're telling you stuff and you're doing your own research about topics and where I'm going to go and what I'm going to do, you have these little internal flags. That's interesting to me. I think I like that. Ooh, I don't know if I like that. And I feel so many people are forcing things. I know I don't like this. I know this is not my strength. I know I don't like spreadsheets. Then why are you in accounting school? Why are you doing
Right.
that? You know you don't like it. But they're going to pay me a lot of money. I get it. But I promise you, if you focus so much more on your strengths, your abilities, your talents, the money will come. The money will come.
That just inspired. That
That really
inspired
is
me.
inspiring.
Like,
Wow. Thank you so much,
yeah.
Dr.
I
George. I
didn't.
really,
Right.
you know.
So, Moria, we're gonna have you close us out. Thank you so much for today and all your lessons. I've learned so much, and it's really inspired me of how you were so real and you just really know how to like talk through the journeys and the processes, and it made me realize like my own journey, my own process, what I can learn from what I've been through, what I'm going through. And even when I do fail, I can look back in this conversation and remember like it's not failure, it's closer to your success because you're growing.
Yes.
Yeah. Um,
Thank you.
Thank you so much for today, being on STEM to the USA. And thank you, Dr. Lockheed Martin. And yeah, I think we're going to close out for today.
Thank you so much, Dr. George. I appreciate everything, especially the like answering the questions. I felt more of it was a more of a really nice insight to me more than anything because instead of just thinking about the career, it was more of, just focus on how you go in the process yourself and that's what will actually make your career. So I think it was amazing actually talking with you. I appreciate it. And thank you for everyone who's joined us with our career day with Dr. George. We hope that you were just as inspired as we were. Remember to visit stemcityusa.com and plan to attend our BEYA Mediquake Symposium in February 2023. More to come next month. We'll hold another live career day at the symposium. We'll look forward to seeing you there. We also would like to give a very special thanks to our Career Day sponsor, Lockheed Martin. They're known for their groundbreaking work in aerospace, arms, defense, information security, and technology around the world. Lockheed Martin has also recently opened their suite in STEM City USA. We're very excited to have them on the STEM City USA team. Please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and join us for our next career day on December 10th, 2022. See you next time. Oh, over to you, General Crawford.
Now, Mimi, thanks so much, and to Dr. George, thanks to you for sharing your gift with us and for sharing your journey. I don't want to reiterate everything you hit. I love the reference to committing, and you mentioned committing to your future, committing to those who support you, and most importantly, committing to your community. I think the points that you made about lifelong learning and becoming a lifelong learner are just going to be very valuable to our audience and to our young people as the next greatest generation of leaders. The last couple of comments that you made about humility and the importance of believing in yourself. And then you talked about controlling the things that you could control, which it really has to do with your preparation for your journey. And so again, thanks so much to everybody for being here today. And again, thank you, Dr. George, for sharing your gift. I think this closes it out, as Mimi's already done a great job of recognizing our sponsors. So again, to everyone, happy Veterans Day weekend. And I wanted to also give a shout out, make sure we give a shout out to our veterans who do so much for the country. But again, yet another great experience today. And I know that I learned a lot from today's event. So back over to those who want to had any final remarks. But again, a rich discussion today. Thank you to everyone.
Calling all future STEM pioneers, leaders, and career champions. Join us on every second Saturday of the month for the BEYA Career Day. BEYA STEM Career Day is all about creating opportunities for students to venture into the world of STEM through the eyes of professionals. You'll meet mentors and presenters that will give you a sneak peek into the many options available to you in the field of STEM. Hosted by teen ambassadors, you'll find yourself among inspiring peers just like yourself that are aiming high for their future. To take part in the BEYA STEM Career Day on Zoom, visit fullstemahead.us and register for the next session. Again, that's fullstemahead.us. BEYA, becoming everything you are.